Hello, everyone. Before we get started on this week's episode, just a quick word that YouTube, in all its infinite wisdom, has decided that some of the Die Party games are now not suitable for advertising. It doesn't mean a whole lot for the content. I'm not going to censor the videos in any way, but if you'd like to lend your support so that Die Party can continue to grow, please check out the Patreon or subscribe on the Twitch channel. Enjoy the episode. Hello everyone, welcome back to Die Party Abyss, a Hollow Earth Expedition role-playing experience that we do here on Twitch. So just a little heads up, today is going to be the final episode of Abyss. And that comes from a couple of reasons. The first is my ever decreasing interest in running this game. Mostly because of, honestly, the main reason is because I gave away too much on the when Jordan needed to have his character wrap up when he left the show, and since that point, I've kind of been like running on autopilot with the game per se. Also, it's getting to the point where other people's character stories are sort of wrapping up, and we're just sort of like, there's no reason to progress the story too much further than what we have. And with Sheepy losing his character last week, instead of adding another start to this, I've decided that it's a good time to close it up. But having said that, let's introduce everyone and get started. Drummer Boy, let's start with you. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing okay. Last few weeks have been busy and then not busy and then busy again.
Yeah?
Like, it's been nuts. I dropped out of a project as well because it turned out to be not what I thought it was. So that's cool. So that was the not busy part. And then figuring out what to do with my life after that became the busy part. So now I've got 2 albums on the way, working with a local artist, and then a whole bunch of other stuff.
Okay.
Freelance life. Yes.
Freelance life. So, did you drop like stressful stuff, or like how does that work exactly?
Yeah, the thing I signed the NDA about, I still can't talk about it, but I'm no longer part of that. So,
Yeah, too much effort. Too much effort.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear, man. I mean, like, there's nothing worse than, having a daily source of stress that you can't do anything about.
Yeah, and a long-term thing as well.
Yeah. Can you say how long you would have been working on that project for?
Probably 3 years ish.
What?
Yeah.
Fuck that, man. That's like adopting like an elderly dog that has like tons of like health problems.
Yeah.
Like that's I mean that's a bad example, but like you know what I mean? Like it's
I guess it's better than saying adopting a sick kid or something.
You've got 3 years to live, kid. Man. I finished The Witcher. That's a thing.
Oh, nice. Like all the DLC and stuff, because I know that you finished the other one, like the story
Yep.
or whatever. Yeah.
Finished the entire series. It's over.
What was your peak moment of which one was it? DLC story?
I like the Blood and Wine DLC a lot just because after playing them like 1 to 3 in the DLCs like all back to back, the last DLC felt like a love letter to the first game in a big way.
Mm.
So it's like it got me right in the feels.
Mm.
It's actually making me want to go get the books and read more about it. But
Yeah, I heard the books are a little tough to get through because like I guess like the first one's like mostly about like people talking about Geralt without Geralt being in the picture or something. I was being told, and it was like,
well, it might be interesting though because I just spent like probably 200 hours with Geralt, so seeing the rest of the world without Geralt might be kind of cool. I don't know. I've got like 3 other books on the docket that I have to read first anyway.
But that's your Geralt, not the Geralt. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, what's your next plan for streaming then? What's the next big game you gotta hit up?
Probably in not next weekend, but the weekend after that. I'm gonna start with System Shock 1 and 2, the
Ooh.
Bioshock series, and then the new Prey or the latest Prey. Maybe the Dishonored series in the middle as well. Because like I'm
Dishonored
going
2 was strange. Dishonored 1 was really good though. Like I
Yeah, I've
liked it a
never
lot.
played Dishonored 2. I played Dishonored 1 a couple times. But the main thing is like there's all these other games. Even the Deus Ex series was kind of inspired by System Shock. So I want to
Mm.
play the primary source material and then go out to like all the stuff that it inspired and see what I can pick up because BioShock is one of my favorite series. I play that every couple of years, but I'm wondering if there's something new that I'll pick up after playing like an inspiration for them. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see.
All right. Sheep Dogger, my man. It's been a while. What's going on, dude?
Oh, yeah. I actually just finished my. I do a YouTube stream on the weekends to, for like anyone who's willing to watch a YouTube live stream, and it was.
Which is
I
probably a
did,
lot of people. If we're being
Yeah, there are, but my more like avid viewers for streams are always on Twitch.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the YouTube stuff is very like jump in, jump out kind of stuff in terms of viewership.
Yeah. No, I get you.
But I just finished Evil Genius,
Oh.
which I finished it because I got frustrated and quit instead of beat it. My entire base got destroyed and all of my guys it would have taken me fucking ages to build it
I
back
thought
up,
Evil
so.
Genius was level based, not like.
Evil Genius has 2 levels. It's the Dungeon Keeper Austin Powers-y game where you play as a kind of Dr. Evil type character.
I know the game, but I just was.
Yeah.
I always thought it was like you do this level, like kind of like a StarCraft level almost. I thought it was like that.
No. Well, there are 2 levels to it. There's the first one and then the volcano one. And I did the first map and it was fine. And then I just about started getting set up on the second one, and some soldiers just ran through my base and killed all of my high expensive minions. So and I was out of money and they destroyed all my equipment and it was too much. So, but I think next I'm going to be playing Black and White 2.
Oh, fucking shit, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. I haven't thought about that game in like almost 10 years.
Yeah. So next YouTube live stream on the weekends, we're going to be playing Black and White 2, which is going to be interesting because last time I played that, I believe I taught I think I had the monkey, the ape, and I accidentally taught him to set himself on fire with lightning, and I couldn't unteach him to do that. So I then taught him to put himself out with a rain cloud. So that's why I love the game. But yeah, it's good stuff.
All right.
Shit,
I don't know what to say to that. You just fucking okay.
It's a fun game. Aside from that, I've been doing YouTube videos like Oxygen Not Included, Surviving Mars.
Oh, God, Surviving Mars is so dumb. Oh my God, I hated it.
Really?
Well, I mean, okay, so the game is complex, right?
Yeah.
They make it complex, and then in some places they make it not complex, but then they don't give you the control to like make it. Like they don't give you control of that game, but then they make it complex at the same time, and it's a strange one. Like I thought it would be more like what was it Roads? No, or City? No, whatever that other game was.
City Skylines?
City Skylines, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be more like that, but it's like, well, time to micromanage your people. My favorite one was I had to build a pipeline halfway across the map to get water, which is fine, whatever. It's not that hard to do that. And then I had to power the pipeline at the end, which is not too bad. You know, you can do that. And I had my repair drones over there, like my little repair dude over there, just repairing. And then a single tornado is just like, fuck it, and it lands it right on that spot.
Yeah.
And it kills all of my repair drones and the repair drone station in there. And I was like,
fuck.
Did
you not have like a rover?
No, the rover was over there repairing things.
Oh, okay.
And it hit all of that. It's like the game was like, hey. And it's just, it fucking, I don't know. It's, and the biggest annoyance for me is like, you play the game, right? And you're just like, sweet, I can do all this stuff. I know how to progress the game. And then it gets to the point where you're like, okay, how do I get metal? Oh shit, you need to build it in the dome radius. And I was just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, there are certain aspects of it that I feel like they didn't think. Maybe they thought it the whole way through.
No,
and just...
you know what it is? I know what it is. If they made it like the rest of the game, if they made it like, okay, I understand how this game's worked. The moment they do that, the game becomes easy, right? Yeah. The moment that you can use your rovers to do whatever, if the game becomes easy, right?
Yeah.
Like anything that they put in there that makes the game easier would just be like, we're not about that. And the other thing is too, you can feel the holes where they left intentionally for people to fix with mods. That's the other thing too.
Well,
like,
that's a big thing with Paradox games.
Yeah,
I know Paradox didn't like develop it, but
isn't City Skylines like half mods now anyway?
Yeah, but City Skylines was like really detailed at the beginning as well. You know, like, and this game here, you can feel the holes that they left. Like you can literally feel like, like for example,
it does feel very bare in a, but then again, like, you know, Hearts of Iron 4, when it first came out, it's not quite as bad as Surviving Mars, but there was definitely room for improvement. And the way Paradox do their stuff, and I imagine they had a say in Surviving Mars, is they started off with the base game and, you know, like everything done, but space for a lot of extra stuff. And then they released that slowly over the years, you know?
So let me give you an example of a hole that they put in here to be fixed with mods. So you have one pipe for water and oxygen, right? You can have the oxygen generator, because you can put that anywhere, right next to the bubble, right? And you could have, and in my case, water over the other side of the map. Now, any point along that pipe, you can have a hole, which would release both O2 and water, even if the O2 machine is right next to the dome where the people are.
But you don't have to connect the pipes.
Yes, but that wasn't made apparent to me at the beginning of the game. You know what I'm saying? And it's fucking just like, I don't know. I shouldn't have to do that. I should have sure, let all the pipes run along the same line, but give me separate pipes. And anyway, it's again, I was like, well, fix it with a mod. It's like, I don't want to do that.
I've been having similar debates with people about Sea of Thieves, because I think it's a fairly shitty game.
So do I. Don't worry about that. I'm with you, man. I'm with you on that. I'm with you. Anything else?
I played Cataclysm, Dark Days Ahead. Doc enjoyed it. He loved seeing me bumble my way through the game with no knowledge and a lot of luck.
That's the ASCII zombie survival game, yeah?
It's not just zombie survival. It's kind of like apocalypse survival.
Right,
everything happens. Like every trope for the apocalypse.
Now, see, I've always wanted to run a role-playing game where literally every single apocalypse happens at the same time. Like Norse apocalypse.
That's Cataclysm, yeah.
That's what Cataclysm is. It's literally everything. The way I described it, and the current lead dev agreed with me, anything that has an 80s B-grade horror movie made about it is all happens at exactly the same time in Cataclysm. And the game is set like 3 days after. So
it's a lot of fun.
Everything's already ruined, and there's all sorts of weird shit happening everywhere. Zombies are just the main thing people think of because they're the things that are swarming all over the towns.
Yeah, but you got uh like some sort of like Egyptian fucking apocalypse like scarab god walking around or some shit or
There's
like
aliens, robots, cyborgs, creatures
Giant
from other
ants.
dimensions. There's portals to
Triffids.
hell. There's Triffids. There's anything from like Lovecraftian sort of stuff. They're all hidden in there. It's really weird. Like when you go into a basement, there's a bunch of giant albino penguins, and it's like, oh, I know how I'm gonna die. And then a Yorkshire Goth shows up and just fucking eats you.
Mm. Yeah. Is that still ASCII, or is there like
There's
tile
there's
sets.
tiles. There's tile
tiles?
packs
Yeah.
for it. But there's a lot of them. They get as much work as the actual game does, really.
Oh, that's
I'm gonna be playing it again, so you can always jump in and check it out.
okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that like Dwarf Fortress to me was like great. I'd rather doing the adventure mode in Dwarf Fortress, and like exploring the old fortresses that people make, like grabbing someone's save or something, and going to explore their shit. That to me was a lot more interesting than the actual maintaining of that shit. So, yeah. Anywho, Doc, let's talk about you, man. What's going on?
Yo, it's going. I mean, I've been doing mostly the usual shit.
Yeah.
I played some Cataclysm to clean my palate after watching that fucking nightmare. Been playing 7 Days to Die again. I told you about that the other day.
Dude,
It's still going fun. I'm still enjoying it.
I want to hearing you play that again and having fun with it. I'm just reminded of how much fun it was to like break into a building and like fucking scrounge around for shit and try and find like books and stuff. And,
Some of the modded buildings are actually really cool.
like
Because that's a big thing is people create like packs where they've built structures and then you load them in and it becomes part of your random world gen.
yeah.
Some of them are like there's like temples and shit that are pretty neat to look at. They're like ancient Japanese or Chinese style temples. They're really cool.
And these are all just made by cubes and like half cubes and triangles and shit. Like, right?
Some of them look really good. Like there's a lot of shapes that you can actually make in that game because you can have like the blocks keep getting smaller until they're down to like 1/18 the size of a normal block.
Huh.
I think it's something crazy like that. So people can get pretty creative with them.
Yeah, like I still remember jumping off a skyscraper and landing on a fucking haystack though. Like,
I still don't know how you managed to fucking hit that. You should have missed.
I did miss. I missed by an inch.
I thought you survived it.
No, that was someone else. They made the same jump, but they. Yeah. Anywho, what else have you been up to? Anything else?
Not much. Warframe.
Oh yeah, that old kit and caboodle. Yeah.
It's fun.
And last but not least, we have Graham. Hello, sir. How you been? How's that pinball machine coming along?
It's okay. I actually I left a second ago, like an hour and a half ago to go get it.
Oh, you've actually. Oh.
No, it's just painting wood at the moment. Still.
Oh, is that the actual like playfield?
This is the top.
Oh. See, I was thinking it would be a lot bigger than that. But maybe is that like the actual size of the how
It's
it
the
is?
actual, but the particular machine that I'm making is meant to be that size.
Oh, damn. Shit.
But it's still just wood and paint basically right now. And I know we're all very sad because it's the first day of spring, or it was a couple days ago, and that means another glorious flannel season set its in. So I had to wear a flannel shirt to celebrate.
Wait, there's flannel seasons? Because I mean, I just wear flannel sometimes. You know, I just feel like wearing flannel.
In Texas, if you wear flannel like outside of winter months or whatever,
Yeah.
you're too hot. Forget it.
Really? That's the first time I've ever heard that opinion before.
This is the last day for flannel.
What's the temperature like there right now?
It's been like 86.
What's that in normal temperatures? Let me take a look.
30 something, 34, 35.
Really?
Yeah. That's what the converter, the Freedom Unit converter says.
What did you say? 82?
86, 87, almost 90.
Yeah, about 30 degrees. Okay, that's pretty warm. That's pretty warm. I can see why, yeah, you wouldn't wear flannel in that weather. Absolutely. Over here, it's like, just casual -4 still. So,
Just get a flannel tattoo and it's fine.
how do you get a flannel tattoo? I don't want to know, actually. I've seen a girl with leopard cheetah spots on her shoulders, so yeah, I guess you could technically get it done. So, anywho, anything else, Graham? No more flashlighting injuries or anything like that? Awesome. All right, cool. Well, guys, as mentioned before, this is the final episode of Die Party.
You're muted, Graham. We can't hear your story.
I was going to say I sanded off some of my fingers, but that's okay.
You're just casually, just like, yeah.
It's too bad this is the last episode. Next episode, we come back and Graham is literally a walking pinball machine. He's just got like flipping things stuck in him.
Put money in me and pull my metals. It's like, okay. Okay, well, as mentioned before previously, this is the final episode of the show. The way that we're going to do this is not by actual play. We're going to spend the next hour or so basically detailing how the characters end the active story portion of this game. We're going to montage out people's characters. You know how you watch like those 80s sitcom and at the end they have like that one slide of a guy like smiling and moving around slightly and then that bunch of text on the side that tells them what happens to them after the movie? Yeah, it's that. But for role-playing games. So I figured since there is sort of a little bit of an order to this, a little bit, at least as it is right now, the players should definitely go first before we detail what happens to the world, with or without their presence, depending on where they go. But I wanted to mostly, since Sheepdog, your character Charles, expired in the last episode, so I want to get an idea of like what that, because you also don't have Woodbury anymore either. So
Yes.
have you given much thought as to like what happens to maybe family or whatever on the surface world after you don't appear after 40 odd years or 30 years or 20 years? I think it's 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would assume that the other guys wouldn't go out of their way to, track down the family and say like, hey, by the way, we surfed with Charles and he died. So
I don't know. I mean, like, who would you say you're closest to out of everyone then? The only person left, I guess, would really maybe do that for you might be, I guess, Francis, right? Like,
yeah.
Because, I mean,
he did enjoy lying to me.
It's true. But, yeah, I don't think anyone would know about your exploits. There's a
Just
good
leave an egg on their next of kin's doorstep.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good chance that Woodbury might have like passed on like some sort of rumor about where you had headed. So
I would imagine that Woodbury would do kind of like
before he got captured or whatever.
Yeah. I imagine that when he couldn't find me, or he didn't know where I was, or he couldn't get to me, whatever. I imagine some of the time he spent would have been like, going back to the family. And I think probably Woodbury knew Charles well enough to know that he probably wasn't coming back, because they worked together and been together for quite a long time. He probably had an inkling of the death wish that Charles had.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine he probably went back to the family and said like, yeah, he's dead. It's slightly more soft terms, but
Yeah, and you're on the fairly old side of things, right? So what type of family did you leave behind?
oh, it's fairly big family. Lots of like they're very upper class British, so lots of cousins, lots of
Did you have a
you
lot
know
of serving military men in your family?
the kind of
Like, was it a lot of
the
people that were serving the king, or like were they in the military? Like, how did people handle that stuff?
yeah, I think anyone connected to like the main family, the main rich part of the family, the kind of noble stuff would have been expected to go into some form of military service.
Mm-hmm.
And they probably mostly took it in stride. I imagine there's a lot of infighting and backbiting about who gets what from the
Estate.
from the estate.
Yeah.
And so
what about who would have participated in the ongoing conflict with the Nazis? Given, like, would your family been like leaders in this conflict, or like how would that go on?
they'd probably get into reasonable positions like NCO, not NCO, like commanding officer type, captains, lieutenants, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt any, like, because the family was fairly prominent 100 years ago,
Right.
and they've started like as a lot of noble families did, they kind of slowly declined and became less important, especially after World War One.
Mm-hmm.
And so like they would still have the same mentality, most of them being taught, charge blindly, don't surrender, no retreat, etc., etc. So I imagine the family probably slowly got wiped out during the Nazi dominance.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe one or two left in like administrative positions, but a lot of like famous last charges and last stands.
Now, yeah,
couple of blowing their own heads off accidentally. It is Charles's family after all.
I like the idea that if we continued this, there might have been like a one shot where you guys would have played like the family members of Abernathy to a degree, and you would have attempted a sort of covert mission to retake a family estate that had been taken by occupying Nazi forces when they moved into Great Britain. Yeah.
So they did move into Great Britain.
I mean, eventually, like it really, like when you have a force of unnaturally powered Nazis, no amount of holdout would ever, stop you from doing that. I like to imagine. Yeah, go on.
I was just gonna say, can I say like the way you initially put out the whole Nazi unstoppable force just made me think of Nazi Sniper Army. The sniper elite.
A little bit more cognizant than that, but
but that's kind of what I had in my head the entire time. I was like, like Nazi generals like floating in the air with skulls going around them like zombie hordes.
No, nothing like that. Just an undying army. But
to be fair, those guys would probably be pretty easy to beat. I mean, we managed to beat them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true.
That says something about those.
Yeah, but you guys are player characters, and there's only
no. I'm talking about Sheepdog and I. We managed to so they obviously weren't too talented as far as
I don't know. I mean, were you playing as Bill? Because Bill's pretty badass. So.
I think one of us was.
I think it's like there's like a Russian character, a German,
and then the Left 4 Dead characters. Yeah, they're in there as well. Yeah, just casually. But so any
Bill's here.
Yeah, exactly. Any other like notable entries in your family's history with the war or anything like that?
I would say probably a large portion of Charles' estate would be left to the Woodburys.
Interesting.
Because he didn't have any kids, and he has a lot of family members, but the the family that meant the most to him was probably Woodbury's. I think it was his uncle. We said was initially served with him in World War One, like when he was younger and in World War One, and then Woodbury afterwards. So I like to think that, considering their nature and the times changing and shifting from World War One to World War Two as they did, the Woodburys probably rose up, maybe even higher than the Abernethys at some point, because they were such like they were much more effective and
Yeah, I could say that. Like maybe they were more effective in the coming war as well, given that they had some sort of insight, or they had, especially working with what was the name of the forces that stopped? God, I'm gonna have to open this book. Andrew, you might know actually. The
Terra Arcanum people?
Yeah, the Terra Arcanum. Yeah, because he was working with them, right? So there's a good chance that his family would have been.
They like made some connections there.
Yeah, most likely. Like they probably had some sort of, pulpy scientist thing built to blow up Nazis, but not enough to turn the tide, I guess. But yeah,
maybe maybe there's the in the end, the cousins and all the other relatives got like a decent chunk of things, but Charles left the estate, like the actual big mansion and all the gardens, everything, actually to Woodbury in his will. So when he was declared dead, that stuff went to Woodbury, and now there's a statue of Charles in the
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's the statue look like? Give us an idea.
I think.
Is it flattering? Is it like to scale? Like what is it?
I think.
Are you taller than you are?
I think it's fairly big, with the sword stick outstretched and pointing to the sky. Looks fairly dashing, but the caption says, "Where am I, Charles?" Charles Cromwell Abernathy.
Okay. Well, who would like to nominate their montage next, I guess?
I think mine's probably going to be pretty short, so it doesn't really matter.
Okay, yeah.
It'd be interesting to hear a little bit of Hyde's, other stuff.
Yeah, like if you had like a memorial thing for Hyde as well, because he died fairly recently.
Like the natives being inspired by Hyde would be kind of cool. Like they start traveling to his.
Like maybe they find the rock and they find him underneath it, sort of thing. Like. There's a lot that you could do realistically with that, and
I guess I don't think he had very much in the way of friends or family in his life. Maybe they'd probably get a different idea of who he actually was, because all they knew about him was he was a stranger from the surface who agreed to kill the bird and then went off and killed the bird. That's pretty much all they know. They don't know any of the fact that he was a bit of a cunt to everyone around him, and he was possibly, but not confirmed, a serial killer.
Convicted, never charged, never convicted. Yeah.
It'd be kind of cool if they deified him, because he you're supposed to kill the Rock and then you become the leader, kind of thing,
Yeah.
So they travel there, find him, and then they create a cairn and slowly build it up to be more and more impressive as time goes on, start worshipping it.
Didn't you also name the mountain Hydefall, wasn't it? Or something?
Hydefall?
Hydesfall.
I could see that happening potentially.
Yeah. I like the idea of that.
There'd be anybody on the surface that would remember or care about him.
Well, that's a little disappointing. It's weird when when you generally player characters in a role playing game, they don't have like in the traditional sense, they're just yeah, my father and mother were murdered, and I was raised an assassin orphan, and it's okay, But what about? Did you have a gentleman's club or anything like that you would have compared hunts to or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, he wasn't.
He wasn't egotistical.
Wasn't
Yeah.
Yeah, never went for trophies. He wasn't about. It was just about actually killing stuff. So I would imagine there were probably some gentlemanly clubs that knew of him as that guy that stabbed me that time, because I was too close to the thing he was hunting. So I just avoided him from now on. He obviously would have had a reputation as a great hunter, but the fact that he disappeared one day just before the war broke out wouldn't really raise any questions.
Yeah. I mean, I guess not.
I'd kind of like to see one of the villagers take up Hyde's mantle and try and get to the surface to hunt big game there.
I mean, he would still have his rifle next to his corpse. Oh no, his rifle was left on top of the rock.
Well, no, you had the blunderbuss with you, so maybe
there's some tribal with his blunderbuss and his old fucking hat on.
That's it. Yeah, learning how to use the blunderbuss, just jamming a bunch of crap in there and shooting it out all the time,
And he calls himself Hiddy.
Hiddy?
Yeah, HYD.
Oh,
I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the the tribesmen,
mistranslation, basically.
Oh, okay, I get you. Yeah.
One of the tribesmen that finds Hyde's stuff suddenly gets the ability to shoot something in slow motion.
It turns out it was the gun all along.
Yeah.
It's an artifact that makes everything slow motion for the user, and Hyde just thought it was his supernatural powers. Yeah.
I would love it if the entirety of Hyde's personality was actually the gun taking over the person. And so the tribal takes the gun and then the personality of the cursed gun takes over and Hyde just reappears as, another Hyde.
One of those classic 80s montages, but the tribes guy that kicks down the side of a hut, a straw hut with a whole bunch of cannibals inside it. It's the silhouette is high, but then the lights come on and it's this tribal guy just murdering the shit out of everyone.
So, have we just turned Hyde into a lich and his gun is his phylactery? Is that what's happened here?
Yeah, that's what's happened.
Well, I'm okay with that. So what's our next
it's
game?
Hollow Earth, it's fine.
Yeah. He just is in Deadlands as Hyde. He's yeah, what up? Well, what about Tomasz then? How does he I mean, your inevitable want was to escape the Hollow Earth, right, and escape the forces of Nazi Germany.
His main thing is not to be caught again.
Yeah.
It's he won't go back, and if that means killing a lot of Nazis, then he'll do that. If that just means staying away from them, then he'll do that.
Well, give me an idea. Would you want to go back to your homeland, or
I think by this point, Poland is just about gone.
Poland was the testing grounds.
Yeah,
right.
There's not much of a homeland left, and I think he probably saw everyone that he was close to was either put into work or just put on a train and never came back. So I don't think he probably doesn't really want to go back. And he's definitely we did actually establish he had PTSD. He wasn't going to be the most stable of people for the rest of his life. So I think what would actually end up happening with him, because he is a great inventor and mechanic and an engineer, and he has access to this weird power source from these crystals that we stole. You know how in a lot of shows there's that slightly eccentric inventor guy that helps them? It's like, here's the weapon that I've invented for you, and he's helping the resistance. I think that would be where Tomas would end up. He would be the slightly crazy guy. His people would know if you go to visit him, don't touch anything because his house is full of traps.
So you're basically like creating technology for the locals almost.
Yeah, like scavenging weird magical science, steampunky sort of stuff, putting together strange guns that probably shouldn't work but still do, and helping whoever's fighting back. Anything to he's doing as much as he can to help without getting too close to the Nazis.
Right, yeah. Interesting.
I'm thinking like the guy in Wolfenstein, you know, the inventor dude, the one that sets up the microwave cannons in the walls and melts those Nazis at the very start of the second one.
Sure.
He's basically like that. Like he's just building these weird death machines.
Is there
Set Roth or something like that?
So what, sorry?
Set Roth, I think his name is. The old Jewish crazy
Yeah, we'll call him eccentric because he's a good guy. They're only crazy when they're evil.
Sure.
Or when they're neutral. So what is the final, like, do you die bloody, or like how do you live out the rest of your life?
Probably it would be an event involving Nazis getting too close to his, I'd call it a workshop, and him triggering something to ensure that he doesn't get taken because he's not going back.
Dead man switch sort of thing?
Yeah, it would probably be something like a really big power supply. It'd probably be something like a bunch of crystals and wires and hoses and things, and it just kind of activates and the whole city block's gone.
Where would you have built your workshop? On Hidefall or Eagle Rock, whatever we ended up calling it? Would you have done it there in that little base that you had, or would you have maybe
probably
gone somewhere
wherever
else?
the resistance was, wherever the biggest resistance was.
Well, I mean, I guess that really comes down to ultimately, like, I don't know if Solomon would have like claimed home for that place, like Eagle Rock or something, or whether he would have hermited somewhere else, or I don't know what your intention is for the character, but like maybe we can pinpoint that down a little bit once we hear more about where Solomon ends up going, I guess. So Graham,
wherever you end up going, just know that at some point in the future, Tomas will blow it up.
Yeah, but it's. Yeah, I imagine that it's the same sort of thing. Like you probably became like a very wanted man for the Nazis, at least for their occupying forces in Hollow Earth to a degree. And if you said that you blew up, then there's a good chance that you took down a lot of them with you. If that was the case, I guess.
Yeah, I can imagine they like sent a crack squad because we need to get their weapons manufacturing and take this guy alive and take all of his research. And Tomas was just like, not coming back, blew everything up.
Yeah. Solomon, what about you? How does your time in Hollow Earth end or continue?
So I've been thinking a lot about this. I think that Solomon sort of realizes, like after Charles went, sort of realized that all he was, his whole personality, everything that he did, for the only reason he did anything was this, get his arm back.
Mm-hmm.
And even after he has it, there is nothing there for him. It's not his.
So it's like a weird phantom pain, but like not like
can't have the 40 years back or 30 years back without it. And so he just sort of realizes that it wasn't worth all this. Sort of ends up being a hermit at Eagle Rock.
Mm.
And I would say that he basically has two choices. He either goes insane or ends up throwing himself off the top.
Interesting. How long does this inevitable spiral take you? Like, how many more years do you think? Like, is he an old man when he does this, or is he
Probably a decade.
probably a decade? Yeah.
So I imagine Francis would come see him every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, after Charles, after he didn't save Charles, he didn't save anybody.
Mm.
There was no, he either didn't want to, didn't care, didn't think it would do anything, no point. Just ran out of steam, ran out of gas.
And during your like down spiral, did you help the natives fight back against the Nazis, or did you like pretty much sequester yourself like straight away?
I didn't help anybody do anything.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. So did you?
No, it's not the happiness ending, but I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. Like, were you like relied upon for like extreme medical like emergencies at all, or like
They try.
let's go see the hermit to fix Wakamba as he's got stabbed by like 35 lances or something like that. Like, are you that guy? Are you that hermit, or are you pretty much get off my lawn, kids?
They tried.
They tried, yeah. A couple of moments, and then eventually they just forget that you are a medical man, or they stop like even presenting you as a option, I guess, for a lot of these things.
They would go. I would imagine Francis would. I don't really know what he's doing, but I'm just gonna assume. They would say, we need to go find Solomon, but we need to go find a doctor.
Mm.
But I mean, after Charles, there was no doctor left.
Oh, that's incredibly sad. I was thinking that you had other plans, but that's wow, shit.
It really the whole experience, the entire campaign, the lack of hope, the overwhelming, more or less what he perceived to be the end of everything. It broke him. There was no longer a point.
Yeah.
It was the end of the line, and everybody had to get off, whether they wanted to or not.
Well, I guess that leaves one final person. I guess Francis Jackson. How do you spend out the rest of eternity?
Well, if the front lines of the Nazis are immortal and so am I guess I'm spending the rest of eternity fighting.
So it's worth pointing out that the Nazi immortality is very different from your own.
Yeah, I think he would put that together because like they're not our blood or Atlantean blood, so he'd go probably try to team up with Solomon and Tamash and like try to figure out a way to like if this like special metal was giving them something, try to reverse engineer it and make a kind of like an EMP for their life force.
So I might as well just elaborate, because you do eventually find out what it is, given the fact that you have access to these crystals, because these crystals are what is doing it essentially.
That's what like Francis was kind of thinking. Now that we found them, I'm like, well, shit. This
So-
is probably it.
Yeah, so you know how like, it's basically a soul stone, right? The souls of their forces are, removed from the most part from the body, and upon death, whatever creature's soul that has been captured, will stand up again. And, if, for example, a creature is shot, they continue to get up. But, obviously, if you destroy the vessel, it's gone for good. So there are ways to deal with them. But in normal combat, especially as it is right now, it's not so easy to just lay waste to an entire force of people. But you guys eventually find that out, and that's why they're here in Hollow Earth. They're here to mine this particular resource, and then they have like a big bunker, right, somewhere in Germany, that contains the souls of their forces, and you guys, I assume, find this information out either by investigating the forces here in Hollow Earth, or I don't know, do you go topside again?
I think so.
Yeah? How do you think you get back? Like, give me an idea on that.
Well, I've got an eternity to figure it out. So, like, Francis probably goes down a dark path and, like, captures Nazi generals and, like, forces them to talk through whatever means.
Yeah.
And then once he gets the information he needs, like, he forces one of them to help him open it. He asks Tomash to make a bomb that will destroy an entire, or like level a city block, which is maybe what you were working on before blowing yourself up.
Yeah.
But basically, he's just trying to get this to whatever bunker it is in Berlin or whatever, and blow up their souls.
That's interesting. Would you say that, like, maybe... So how do you get back to the surface, though? Like, do you find a tunnel? Is it a piece of technology? Like, what is it exactly? Because remember, you have Atlantean blood. Well, half of it, at least, anyway. So it could theoretically be an artifact. It could be a gateway, like a portal or something. It could be anything, really. Well, what do you think? What do you think realistically you would have found?
Was there like shadowy cabal people in Hollow Earth, or were they on the surface?
I mean, for the most part, they can't do a whole lot of business. Because, imagine if you're a shadowy cabal black market trader and you go to Hollow Earth and you come up and then all your contacts are gone because of old age. All right. So a lot of them are on the surface, but they probably have people like,
They probably have a map and like how these people are getting here. I could probably force them to tell me where that is and find a reverse engineer way to get back out.
So, I mean, I probably think realistically, story-wise, Sir Nigel Smith Sterling, he was here on, twofold. First is to, find natives and stuff like that, and the second is to explore and find stuff to bring back to the surface, and, that would have been sold off to the black market, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. So he probably had a way of coming back, and you probably would have followed him. It'd most likely be like one of those weird things where like you go through a cave, it feels like cold and dark for a moment of time, and then you come out in like some sort of like skull face mountain on some fucking island somewhere, and you would have had all this information. Like, also, I'm super interested in what your first death is like.
Probably his first death is immediately when he reaches the surface.
Yeah.
I think you out and it's like the exit is like a miscellaneous manhole cover in the middle of New York City,
Yeah.
and you just get hit by a truck.
Maybe like he comes up into a subway and he's never seen the subway before, and there's a light coming towards him, and it's like that scene out of Little Nicky.
Fucking
Hey.
little Nicky.
Hello, wham.
Yeah. Oh my god. Holy shit. I need to watch that again. That movie was too good. But yeah. So how do you like? I like the idea that you started torturing Nazis and all that sort of shit. You tortured generals. You wrote down all this information in a book somewhere or whatever, and then you got fucking killed. And then you come back and you have no recollection of you going down this dark path, or like investigating torture techniques or anything like that. But you have all this information. He's like, "Well, shit, I guess I'll go blow that up now." Like,
But I do have, I did get the pet rock finally, and it is a pet rock.
Oh, oh, sorry. I was sitting there thinking like, wait, why does he have a pet rock? And it's like, oh, you mean the
that's
bird?
the joke. It's
You mean
pet
the
rock.
bird?
That's a
Okay,
bird.
Yeah.
Bird thing, and probably that's what like would carry the bomb. So like eventually, maybe 100 tries later, you see this like
Wait, you bring it to the surface?
yeah, full grown rock just bursts out onto the surface with this like thing in its clutches to drop it on this bunker.
That's insane. All right, cool. I can get down with that. That's a pulpy way to go out.
And if it comes down to it, after the Nazis are dead, because he's got a millennia to go, he just like begins sealing the entrances to Hollow Earth if he can.
I imagine it's a lot like the latest Wolfenstein, right? Like it's getting to the point where it's like they're reaching the future and they've taken over like most of America and shit like that, and you're sort of with the resistance fighting back, and you could probably make an entire fucking game about that. But I imagine it's a lot like that, So how long, like, given the fact that I imagine if you blew up the thing that was holding all the souls for all the armed forces, they would get wiped out pretty quickly. Like almost overnight, it would be like a heel turn almost,
It'd be like Wolfenstein if it turned into Metro 2033. Like
that would be
there was this huge occupying force, but they all died one day.
Yeah.
And now the world is ruined and people have to figure out how to live.
Yeah. That's not a bad way of looking at it. Like, and would you have taken a place of power, or like how would you like? In order for you to do this, you can't just simply fly a giant albatross over to Berlin and drop a bomb, right? Like, you would have had a force leading something to create a distraction, all that sort of stuff. So is there any sort of superpower or ally that you would have taken?
I think he either joins up or creates a new Terra Arcanum.
Yeah.
Woodberries. The Woodberries.
Yeah. Do you think you would have like contacted all the remaining heads of state to see if they could offer things, and like do you think that's what would have happened? Like, do you think that you would have created the shadowy cabal, basically, like where the government is sort of like run by like some sort of like stonecutters association?
Yeah, well, it would combine like my academics history background and my myth and legend.
Yeah.
So like all my knowledge from history and all like the weird Illuminati shadowy cabal from history.
Yeah.
Like, how did the world defeat Alexander the Great? Probably like taking cues from that. How did the world defeat Attila the Hun? Taking cues from that. And like mashing them together and being like, we have all these lessons. Now, time to actually put them into practice without so history doesn't repeat itself.
That's super interesting, because I can imagine like the leader of this fucking Terra Arcanum, like the Phantom, like he never dies, but it's really just his son taking over, right? Like I imagine like, you get to a point where like you've lived out a life, you're an old man and you die, and then you just revert almost back to where you were, and you have to spend how long educating yourself on like the stuff that you did, like
I've built myself a machine, so like when I die, like before I know I'm taking my dying breath, I sit in this machine that like holds me there until like I die, revert to the thing, and it holds me there and shows me like a thing I've already prepared of like, this is what happened.
You 51st dates yourself.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like how I used to torture the
That's
Nazi
what I was
generals.
thinking.
Yeah.
Drew Barrymore pops up and she's like, "Listen."
Yeah. And then like there's a room in the new headquarters. It's like behind this big curtain. There's like little pedestals to honor my fallen comrades. So like there's like stuff to Solomon and stuff to Hyde and Thomas, and then Imago Gideon, and then Abernathy. There's probably like an egg around Abernathy's thing, and then like a gigantic rock skeleton.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Shit. So I mean, like, you know, in terms of like story and plot and stuff, like there was a real chance you guys could have, like, and maybe it wasn't abundantly clear, but like, the Nazi army was, in my eyes, built around a concept of like a glass house. You know, the right stone in the right place could send it all crumbling down. And I kind of feel like it was a missed opportunity on my part to make that a little bit more abundantly clear as to, like, you know, given the right poking and prodding, you guys could have changed the course of fictional history, I guess, for the most part. But you know, it's an interesting ride. The Hollow Earth Expedition role-playing system, as it's written and as it's intended, is basically a game of chance. No matter how skilled you are in this game, it is always a 50-50 outcome. Generally, the rule of thumb with this game is I set a difficulty with, like, let's say you want to shoot a thing, or no, let's say you want to jump across a ravine. I set a difficulty of like, okay, you need 4 successes. You roll your dice, and if you get a 2, that dice is a success, and if you get a 1, that dice is a failure. And that's pretty much the system. You can use any dice face, and if it's an even, it's a success, and if it's an odd, it's a failure. And that's the entire thing. The changes that I made to it, I felt like after the extended amount of play that we did, I don't know if it succeeded at making this game any better in terms of like how the breakdown is, because to a point, you guys succeeded in literally just about everything that you did. Like there was a couple in there that were like the extreme cases, but the book that I took it from, which was World of Darkness, you almost never succeed, right? Or like failure is pretty much, it happens a lot, but in this game, the results weren't as like they didn't come across like that either, right? So it was a weird thing of like the power creep was the same as it was in Hollow Earth, except you guys had a different difficulty set to it. But at the same time, it didn't really fix the problems that the system had, in my eyes. What were you guys' thoughts on the system, Adam? I'm curious.
I liked the setting.
Yeah.
I don't think the rules fit the setting.
It's kind of weird, right? You look at the book and you see all this cool stuff your character could build and traits and upgrades and skills and shit. But then when you actually get down to playing it, it has this weird feeling of like, all that stuff doesn't really matter. Like there's a couple of things in there that do matter, like being able to shoot and reload on the same turn, or like the ability that Jordan had for his character, where he could like confront people and like make them confused for a few turns. But other than that, like it almost seems like the traits don't really have any sort of lasting effect.
Yeah, and the going from I'm perfectly fine and kicking ass to on the knife's edge of death is so sudden. It always feels like you got a knife against your throat playing the game.
That's my biggest complaint. In a system that is so incredibly lethal, which is what it was, and that's okay. there's no armor, there's no defense, and
Yeah.
there's no healing.
Yep.
It's
fate-
if you get hit
or-
once in a fight, you're probably
Yeah.
going to go out of that fight. That's
or,
it.
or like fate points, you know, like in Void Barons, we had the fate points to fall back on. If you guys die, you can burn a fate point and you survive. You know,
Yeah.
that's-
So the game is focused mostly around cover, and on top of
Yeah.
that, we didn't even use stun, right?
Mm.
You guys probably wouldn't have won any of the fights you were in if stun came in, because everyone
Yeah.
had fairly low stun because, like Hyde had focused his stuff on one way, but his stun rating was what ended up was your stun rating? I'm curious. Let's take a look.
3.
3. Yeah, no, you would have fucking got killed all the time. Like you would have been.
Well, not exactly, because you have to take more damage than your stun rating to be stunned. And
Yes.
Hyde mostly didn't get killed. I didn't get hit.
There was a couple of times when you did, and those
Yeah,
like
it was a case of if you got hit once using the stun rating,
Yeah.
like you're half dead and out of the fight for the next turn, which means you're probably going to be dead by
Mhm.
the end of that turn.
yeah.
But at the same time, we weren't using that on the enemy. The enemy wasn't getting stunned either. So
Yeah, that's
it
right.
was.
Mhm.
The other
No.
thing I found about the system is like you really have to focus on one thing
Yeah.
to be effective. Because like I really enjoyed playing Charles, but he was held back a little without Woodbury. You know, because Woodbury was like half of his skill points starting off.
Yep.
And you know, I didn't focus specifically on melee to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be able to shoot a little bit and to also melee and these kind of things. So like, I felt like that held him back in combat and stuff. Aside from being able to take a fair amount of hits, but again, a couple of good dice rolls from you, and you know his health has gone down in 1 hit or 2 hits.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I think the setting is really cool with a different, less lethal system. Or the idea that, you know, characters, you know, if you're playing a high mortality game, that's fine. Like, you know, you roll a new character, you keep on going.
Mhm.
You don't kind of focus on the characters and you play it as like a group instead.
Mhm.
That could be fun. But I think, you know, like, I'm not a massive fan of the system. I think it's a bit too deadly with like the RNG being too harsh. You know, even with your changed system, like, which I did like, I preferred it to what it initially was with the 50-50 chance. Still, like, it's too easy to just be like, and you're all dead. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I kind of played against how I like to play role-playing games. Like, I like to start kind of not knowing what I'm doing and then grow into something.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, you have to know right away and lock in your skills, and you railroad yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that too, considering how like I was pretty liberal with the amount of XP I was giving you guys too. Like I was handing it out like candy, and you guys were still not purchasing a lot of stuff, which ultimately, like, I was kind of sitting there and just being like, am I not giving out enough XP? But like looking at it, I was giving out the recommended and then some, and you still didn't have enough to like fill in the holes that your character had, essentially.
Yeah.
Like
The other thing I kind of noticed is that you either have ridiculously easy enemies or a few like really dangerous.
I took the original Nazi and I gave him a few extra points and I made him an elite one, and I gave and all of a sudden he went from being like garbage to like one
Wrecking
dude
everything.
like wrecking everything, you know? Like,
yeah, because like when I was doing Void Barons, I was worried about, you know, like giving you guys something too easy or giving you guys something too hard.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fairly easy to find different opponents that you guys could face, you know, and you guys got OP really quickly as well. But no, someone blew up a ship at one point, I seem to remember. Not going to name names, but with his mind.
Yeah.
But in this game, it feels I kind of felt for you there, because it did feel like either you were just putting us up against, like, you know, an easy sack where they basically go down in the first hit, and or you're putting us up against people who could easily randomly kill us with a good roll. like one-shot us.
Yep.
So it was, yeah, you know, it
I
was.
feel like the PCs never became powerful, and I don't know if you really
I
could.
think you were exceptionally powerful.
Yeah.
I think Hyde.
Specifically, it's actually, you know, it was like in one instance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
he was good at shooting things with his guns, but any other gun, he would have been exactly the same as anybody else. He wasn't
Mm.
like. It was almost a little bit too realistic in that you put a gun in anybody's hands and they're as equally dangerous as anybody else with the same gun. Like
Yeah.
it was more about the weapon than it was about the players. The players didn't really become strong.
Pulpy. They didn't become like pulpy heroes, which is kind of what I was expecting from the game. They, you know,
yeah,
they kind of.
I was expecting, like, honestly, I was expecting people to like grow rapidly, but that never seemed to happen. Graham, what about you? Do you have any thoughts?
I just don't think it was. I don't think the game does a good job of facilitating pulp play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't find the story particularly pulpy. We talked about this
Yeah.
before. To me, pulp. I mean, to me, the pulpiest kind of game you can play is Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Sort.
It's become like the thing that I hated, right? You know, like to a degree. Yeah.
Pulp storytelling is out of the frying pan into the fire.
Yep.
And that, to me, is so. Dungeons and Dragons is sort of this. It is the lingua franca of our hobby. It's the touchstone that everybody has that we can pull from, we can point to. I think you can do any story in any style in that system, and it works just as well. I think this system, it's the whole time I'm thinking of the ways that it is unnecessarily fiddly and non-helpful and keeps us from the fun in a way that something like a 5e Dungeons and Dragons doesn't. That's really all I could think of. I don't like the system. I think it's arbitrary. Doesn't feel like it feels like we never failed. It feels like we never could fail.
Yeah.
Despite how dramatic you tried to make it.
Yeah. I agree with that too. Like when I played this game with Wreckage and a couple other people with the actual rules as intended, and that it wasn't much better. Like and I thought that, you know, playing it with the WOD style dice would work because they seem to, you know, without changing too much of the rules, changing it to a WOD dice system wouldn't have affected a whole lot. But ultimately, it almost kind of made it easier for you guys to pass things because it wasn't like a game of chance anymore. And that's a weird thing to go through.
But it was still more preferable to the game of chance where skill had very little to do with it. You know, like your character's skills.
You could be a master
lockpick.
master lockpicker. Whoa, master lockpicker, right? And
master lockpicker.
You could have like 10 dice and you'd still fail the thing, right? Like you're rolling 10 dice to a degree. You should have some wiggle room of success in there, but like, yeah. But I agree with all the statements, and that's like a lot of it is partly the reason of like fatigue with the system as well, for the reason why we're ending it as we are. But you know, it just goes to show that even like if we were to like move it over to say like I feel like a more narrative rewarding system probably would have been a better choice for like a Hollowworth style story, like say something along the lines of maybe even like pulled out like a world generator or something like that. Because there's a couple of them that like, I mean, I wish Eric was here to talk about this, but like he would have an idea of what system would work better for this. But
I think like even with the system none of us particularly were enamored with, we still did get some great moments.
Oh
you know,
yeah,
like,
100%. Like
there was still a lot of fun to be had in there.
But I'll tell you what, I was going to say the same thing. I don't think any of those have anything to do with the system. I think that's just us. I think
that's just the role play.
There's nothing about the system. There's nothing virtuous about the system that breeds that kind of play. It's just experience and knowing what things are dramatic and knowing what things aren't dramatic.
It's like playing a garbage game with friends. It's still fun because you're with your friends.
Yeah.
It's like playing Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
You can still have fun, but it's fucking terrible.
Yeah. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up Die Party Abyss. So long, sweet champion. I enjoyed the time with it. How many episodes do we get? Let me take a quick squiz here. I think that's 17. Yeah, this would be the 17th episode. So, a little under the standard runtime that normally we have for Die Party games, which is about 20, 25-ish, right? Like normally we get that many out, but given the circumstances and given how quickly my story came to fruition, right? Or at least all the secrets did.
Now knowing what you were thinking, I kind of can see the path you wanted us to go. Like, we find out about the Soul Stones kind of simultaneously with the Nazis and Null. And then we're like connecting the dots. We're like, oh, this is this. Let's do a thing.
Yeah. And having like a character find out one of them without the other, it's kind of like, there was no peanut butter and chocolate sort of thing, and having people leave it, like, I don't know of many systems where like having like key characters leave the game early did it any favors. You know what I mean? Like I can't think of any games where like one of the original crew leaving made the game better for anyone.
If that's a thing that you're worried about and you want to do, so any game or any story where the party members are part of some sort of an adventuring group or guild or that where it's understood that people come and go, then it's easy.
Yeah, one of the biggest problems I had, like I've had, I keep doing this with the games that I run. Like I did it with Gambit, the Star Wars game, and I did it with other things too. Like having characters intrinsically tied to the story plot as a whole, like having them be like the the MacGuffin almost, right? Like is kind of, I lean on that a lot as a GM.
They almost need to be separate. Like the world is doing stuff.
Yeah.
The characters do stuff, interact with the world, which changes things. But they don't become like, they're not like
pivotal.
If this person dies, then this narrative is finished. It's like
yeah, because that's kind of like what happened here to a degree, and having Hyde die. Or having one of you die, and not having access to the Atlantean blood would have been okay, but having two of you die and only leaving two left over with a Atlantean blood, and then having another character sort of have his story complete and not be interested in following up with that character's plot anymore.
Both of the characters kind of had their stories complete.
Yeah.
So everyone had kind of been wrapped up. Almost.
To a degree, yeah. Like
character do. Yeah.
And then at that point it's just kicking and screaming, right? So but yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to do today. I wanted to sort of wrap this up, and give people like a climax to their character.
If you had to do this again with something like fronts, that would be probably a little bit.
Fronts? Is that a system?
No, it's like a mechanic from, I want to say like Apocalypse World, maybe.
Okay.
So it's like it's like helping the GM break the world into factions and like what these factions want against each other and moving the world forward that way. And then the players are interacting in that space.
Okay.
I think Eric could talk about it more if you want to contact him about it. But that's like, I've been kind of toying with the idea of maybe trying to read through a game and understand it well enough to run it. But that's what I would probably use.
Don't do 40k.
No.
Those games are fucking long in their rule books.
No, I would probably do something like the Powered by the Apocalypse games or like something like that.
Alrighty. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's get where can people find you, and then we'll wrap this bitch up. So, Drummer Boy, where can people find you?
Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and Patreon. Sorry. The Patreon's actually going to get a little bit of an overhaul pretty soon. We're going from a per project payment to a monthly, which is going to be a little bit less. And then the tiers are going to get rethought. Yeah. So the $1 tier will actually get music.
Oh.
So they'll get music. The rest of the people, they won't be able to vote on the next piece of music, but then the $3 tier will be able to, and the $5 tier and upwards will, of course, be able to. And then you'll get more depending on how high in the tier levels you are. I probably won't go any higher than like $10 a month, I'm thinking.
Yeah, when I started, I had like, high values, but then the highest I made was 30.
Yeah.
So.
It's hard to put, like, with the smaller ones, like $1 and $5, you can get, kind of little fun things extra. But once you get up to the real high tiers, it's like, what can I give people that's worth it that won't make other people feel left out?
Right. Or create so much work for you that is no longer worth it for you to do it for that amount of, But yeah, I'm going to be thinking about that. Probably going to be relaunching it in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be making a trailer of all the music I've done beforehand to show people what they're getting. Because when you buy in, even at the $1 level, I'll make sure you can get all the previous, like up to a year worth of music for $1.
That's crazy.
And then you progressively onward and stuff like that. So yeah, look out for that if you want, and listen to my music on Spotify.
All right, Sheepdog, where can people find your butt?
YouTube, Sheepdog Gaming, Twitch, Daddy Sheepdo, Twitter, Sheepdog42, Spotify, Bumble McFuckbutts, Steam is
Bumble
Master
McFuckbutts.
General. Bumble McFuckbutts. Pooh Master General on Steam. Fucking find me. I'm so difficult.
Just basically type poop. Oh, you're gonna like this. You know what the Polish word for poop is?
Sheep.
Poop. No, it's Koopa.
Cooper.
Yeah. So the
So
Koopa
Koopa
Kids.
Trooper is a poop trooper.
Yeah, and Koopa Kids from Nintendo. Yeah, Poopy
Yeah.
Kids. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
I mean, he was a plumber. That would be a thing he did.
Mario is actually Polish. Wow.
Speaking about Polish, Doc, my man, where can people find you? Your character's Polish, by the way.
Yeah, no, that was pretty. That was a reach. Didn't find me here again on Fridays for Shadowrun. I forgot the system.
Yeah, it's been a while since we played
while.
that. Yeah, that potentially might be something that we also might maybe sunset, given it's been so long since we've managed to fucking eke out a game out of that.
We're in a position where we kind of need the whole party present as well.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
I foolishly suggested we do a run on a corp that we
Yeah.
absolutely are not ready to handle.
No, definitely not. So we'll see how that goes. Last but not least, Mr. Graham _complete. Sir, where can people find you?
Always be making.
On YouTube.
Sure.
Yeah. Building a pinball machine. Probably putting it on video too. I don't know. Yeah?
Yep.
Nice. Alright guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed our little romp foray into Hollow Earth Expedition. If you did, thank you. I don't know. So a couple bit of news in about 3 weeks time. So April 17th, I think, is when we're starting. We are going to be running I am going to be running a Deadlands Reloaded game in the same slot here. We are finalizing the cast at the moment, but it definitely looks like it's going to be going ahead. Yeah, that'll be cool. So that'll be character creation up then, and world building and all that sort of stuff. And So we'll start off slow, and everyone will be able to get filled in and that sort of shit. So yeah, but that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on the next Die Party game. Have a good one. Bye bye.